Alright, this is another episode of Gaming with Andrew, and this time we're trying something a little bit different. I know it'd probably be better if I played the same game, but sometimes I need a little bit of variety. So this is a game that I discovered recently, and the gist of it is that you are a shipbreaker in the future. You break apart ships for money, basically. And if you die, the company just clones you, and you just keep working. You start the game with, like, I don't know, some obscene 1.5 billion in debt or something. It's kind of funny. And
Hello, Shipbreaker. Overnight genetic backup complete. Pattern deviation nominal. Have a good day.
and so you will see that there's a sort of a union subplot. So the game has a loose plot, but mostly it's just you upgrading your equipment and trying to break apart ships. So you have your equipment that, as you use it, gets degraded and you can repair it, but you can, put stickers on your equipment if you like. But otherwise, you basically pick ships and break them apart. So I have, as you can see, I have done basically all of this one, so I'm going to pick another one. Let's see. Sure. So one of the things you have to get used to is these sort of three-dimensional controls, which makes life really interesting.
Welcome to Vintatron 9000. Thank you for your
Heathers restored.
So anyway, I find the game somewhat relaxing, even though there's a few moments that are stressful. So basically the gist is there are some parts that go down to this barge, some parts that go into the furnace, some parts that go into the processor, and you get money if you put them in the right place. So it will tell you where it goes: barge, processor, etc. And your cutter can cut through items that kind of look like that, the cross-hatching of yellow and black. And if you cut through all of them, you will see the parts come off. But if you look in the bottom right, you'll see that the cutter often overheats, so you have to be careful. But when it is free, you can move it around. And then you can kind of give it a little bit of force. So things that are really heavy don't move that well. And if you try to pull them, they just pull you because they're, well, heavier than you. Physics.
Secured. Applying credit.
So anyway, it's kind of relaxing. I like the sort of subtle music in the background. One of the other things that you could do is just attach a grapple to it, and then that kind of pulls things down. It's a little bit faster for heavier items. But there's another kind of cutter that will just cut through things. Which is sometimes faster, but if you mess it up, it can cause, you can damage things like this. I accidentally damaged something that was behind it because I wasn't paying attention. So it cut through this thing. So, the one thing
Salvage
that's
secured.
interesting
Credits deposited.
is if it's green on the inside, so you have a little scanner, that means it's pressurized. So right now this whole ship is pressurized. That means if I try to like cut through one of these outer areas, well, it'll be bad because it'll depressurize the ship, stuff gets destroyed, and nobody likes that. So you have to open an airlock.
Airlock depressurizing.
Then you go in.
Airlock pressurizing.
So anyway, I don't know why I enjoy this game, but it is kind of a fascinating thing. There's a different hazards, I guess. So one of the hazards is probably right here. Yeah, so in there is the nuclear power plant for the whole ship. You can see it kind of messes with your equipment. Once you pull it out of the housing, it starts to melt down. So you basically need a clear shot to wherever you're going, or it will be real bad. It will explode. And I've had that happen, and it really wrecks the ship. So one of the things you can do
Air pressure level
is do that, which will depressurize certain rooms. So if I were to try to, for example, suppose I wanted to do this. So you can see that out there was pressurized, so it's basically repressurizing this. But if I were to have depressurized the whole thing, I could have cut through that and been fine. But this little small hole didn't really damage anything, so you're A-okay. And so what that did was, you'll notice it depressurized the areas that were attached to it. Which, ask yourself, how could cutting into here depressurize it? Shouldn't have just repressurized this room? Yes, but there are a few things that are, you know, obviously not exactly accurate. You know, perhaps not a surprise. One of which is the whole, you know, your cloned thing. So depressurizing this caused some of this cryo to leak out, which is causing a cryohazard. So if you get near it, it will just get really cold. So these are fuses which you need to get out before you can take out the power plant. And so as you play the game, you slowly learn about the different hazards. Okay, so that's outside, so that's what we want to do. What the goal is, for me here, is to get a hatch open to the outside. So I can begin to take the ship apart. because one of the things I like to do is basically take all of the outside of the ship apart, and then I don't think I've no, and then work on the inside. One thing that used to happen before I upgraded my equipment to have lots of fuel is that I used to end up running out of oxygen, which was kind of annoying because you'd get lost in here and then be trying to find your way out before you could get something. Alright, one of these has got to be free. I just need one, and then I can start taking it apart. Because usually once you get the first one, then the rest kind of all start to come off. So in just a minute, my supervisor is going to tell me there's only 5 minutes left because the whole game is timed in a sense. You're on the clock.
Sir,
There
you're
you go.
fixing to dot the I's and cross the T's. You got about 5 minutes to do it. Weaver out.
Ah, here we go. This is what I was looking for. I needed to cut these before they could start to... There we go. Okay, so as you can see, now I have access, and then what I can do is just start going down slowly but surely.
Salvage deposited. Applying credit to account.
Sometimes really big, heavy pieces are hard to move. Alright, anyway, so it's been a little bit of a stressful week for me, and so sometimes I like to just relax with a game that is low-ish stakes. In other words,
Object accepted for processing.
there's, you know, some sort of skill involved, but it's not super high stakes, and you can relax while you're playing it and just kind of forget about the world. And I know it seems ironic that I'm playing a game where you are massively in debt, and somehow that helps me forget about the world, but it does, because I just
Salvage deposit accepted. Credit transferred.
kind of ignore that particular subplot, and I am mostly focused on just the different ships and their designs and how to take everything apart and try to get as much of the ship processed without losing pieces.
Object processed. Transferring credit.
And one of the ways you can do that is if you cut too close to some of these lines, the heat will just set them off. Oh, by the way, this is the, whoops, went a little too high. This is the power generator that all those fuses were connected to. And if you try to take this off without getting rid of the fuses, you will likely electrocute yourself.
Credit awarded. Salvage registered. Transferring credit.
But anyway, as I said, it was sort of a stressful week.
Not much left of this ship, Cutter. About
So
1 minute remaining.
I think games are great to
Salvage
just
deposit secured.
relax with.
Credits awarded.
So if you're watching, you've had a stressful week. Hopefully things get better for you. But sometimes, as I know all too well, things don't always get better. Sometimes things just suck, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so finding a way to
Salvage deposit
escape
registered.
without
Account credited.
harming yourself, I think, is, or your family, is great. So some people escape by, you know, things that are sort of harmful behaviors. I don't necessarily condone that. I'm about to run out of time, so I'm not going to do anything else today. But games, I think, are a non-harmful way of coping. So one of the things is there are, at certain amounts of salvage, they're like checkpoints, and each one you get these tokens, and those are used to upgrade your equipment. There's my debt, by the way, 1 billion. Guess if I'd won the Powerball, I could have paid that off, but alas. So you can see I've earned 3.2 million. So as I was saying, if you're having a hard time, hopefully things get better for you. But if they don't, hopefully you can find ways of coping with that
Good
and
morning,
ways of
Shipbreaker.
venting
Lynx would like to share the
or
following message. The only
releasing,
fees permitted in the
sort of that
salvage
tension
yard
and
are
energy.
profit, processor, and potassium trifluoromethane sulfonate.
So in this sort of, I guess, pseudo-anti-capitalist game, I think, you have all of these fees that are tacked on and are come out of the money that you earn, and then this amount is going to pay off your debt. So 3 to 5 million a day, but if you're, 1 billion in debt, that takes quite a bit of your time. So this is a cute little part of the game as you collect, like, different, basically, random data from ships. This can decrypt it, and it will just
Hey, Dad. Case told me what's going on.
will tell you, you can find, like, it's random stories or, whatever, just random stuff. But it's kind of, some of them are happy, some of them are sad, some of them are just add flavor to the universe that you're playing in. You also have a ship that you're trying to repair.
It looks like you're trying to upgrade on your ship. Would you like help with that?
So you need to get parts from other ships to try to upgrade. Alright. So let's see what we got here. We're gonna upgrade some of our stuff. I don't care about that. I use tethers a lot. I'm gonna Okay, there we go. So, if it gets too low into the 80s, it will start to degrade and they will not be quite as effective, so you're constantly having to repair your things, I guess. I don't know, metaphor for life, right? So, this is our ship, so you can see the areas that I have cut on the inside because it's sort of like jutting up like this. So if I were to do it like that, for example, you can see it will slowly pull it up, which I do sometimes because, as you can see, there's other pieces connected to it. Now here, they all go to the same place, so it's fine, but other times there are things you need to pull off that go to other places. Now, one thing I need to be careful about is that a lot of the things in here are still pressurized, and so if I were to go in and depressure, or like cut through, for example, the airlock, that'd be suboptimal because it would immediately depressurize that whole area, which, well, could damage things, so I don't really want to do that. But I do want to pull this away. So let's go in and see if we can't depressurize the rest of the ship.
Airlock depressurizing.
Valuable object accepted for processing.
Airlock pressurizing.
Alright, so here we go. So what we want to do is see if we can find an atmospheric regulator that will let you... Okay, so... Well, that's not great, since this is supposed to be here. I'm guessing that this means we cannot depressurize this, which might mean we just have to manually, because that one there too. So sometimes they're just not hooked up. Yeah, so these are the only spots that are... So we might just be dealing with a situation where we just have to depressurize and hope for the best. Alright, that is unfortunate. So if I open this door, remember we went in and depressurized that, so that'll depressurize this whole thing. Do I want to do that, is the question. Because there's so much stuff in here, some of it could get damaged. But I guess there's not much we can do about it. So, why don't we... There we go. We are now depressurized. So the only thing now that isn't is the airlock, but
Airlock depressurizing.
now once this is depressurized, you'll see it should just stay open all the way to the... There we go. Yep. So one of the things we can do now is just cut the airlock out completely. So I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background, but it's just sort of an interesting, but I think relaxing thing. Alright, so what we're gonna do is first we're gonna take this off, put that down there, and we're gonna take this,
Salvage secured. Account credit
go over
applied.
there, then we're going to take this switch out,
Deposit accepted for processing.
although we don't actually have to because this whole thing is going in the barge,
Salvage
but I just
secured.
want to show you how that
Credit
works.
deposited.
Oops. There we go.
Salvage deposited. Applying credit to account.
So now let's cut that. We can slowly start to pull things out. Oh, I forgot I put that up there.
Processing object. Applying credits to account.
So when it turns red, that means there's a lot of stress on the grapple because it's trying to pull this thing that is fairly heavy. But once things start to get going, you know, space being what it is, they tend to keep going. Alright, so we're gonna pull this out, but I want to cut that first, just so we're not dragging it. Okay. So let's get this out of here. Because what we want to do is clear the space around this. So, in order to get this out, I need to first
Object accepted for processing.
disconnect the coolant from it, and I need to disconnect the engines if they're still here. Alright, so what we're gonna do, sorry, I probably just made y'all dizzy. Is first
Material
check out
accepted. Credit
where the
transferred.
engines are. There we go. It can be fun if this is pressurized. Once you cut these loose, they go flying off backwards. Alright, so let's do that. And drag them over there for a bit. This sensor array, by the way, is what I cut through over there accidentally when I was cutting the these off on the other side. So my goal is to try every sort of day in the game to get at least one of the goals, the salvage goals, so I can get points. But some days,
We got 5 minutes left till we call it a day.
which I guess again is sort of how I approach life, some days are just purely prep, where I do a lot of the prep work. So I'll cut a lot of the internal things. I'll make sure stuff is depressurized. I'll go through, cut as many things as I can, and I might not salvage much, but then the next day I can bang through and do a ton all at once. So I guess if I was going to extend that to life, I think sometimes, many times, preparation matters. Now, to extend that to something I know a lot about, cooking, there's this concept, to be super pretentious, mise en place, which I totally mispronounced, I'm sure. But basically it just means everything in its place. In other words, if you're making stir fry or whatever, have all of your ingredients prepped and ready so that as you need them, you can just use them. And you don't have to be trying to find, you know, the flour or the sugar or the basil or whatever you need. As you're cooking. It also makes cleanup a little easier usually, but, you know, when I am, for example, and if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen plenty of pictures of my pizza sundae. But I always have the flour and the sugar, not the sugar, sorry, the flour and the salt and the yeast, the water all measured out and ready before I ever begin doing anything. And that is because I think that it makes everything a lot easier. Alright, so now what we're going to try to do is sometimes you can see... Nope. You can't see the room in here. So we'll have to go inside. I didn't include too much. Uh-oh, don't. Okay. It's not gonna destroy that pipe. That would be not great.
Raw material deposited. Transferring credits.
Okay, so we have this. We're gonna drag out this way. So these things are so heavy that sometimes I have to drag them at an angle before I can send them into there. But as I was saying, prep is everything, and so if you're going to do something, woodworking, baking, cooking, whatever, I find that spending just a little bit of extra time in advance getting everything
Got
prepared
about 1 minute till the yard goes dark, Cutter.
will save you just so much hassle. So I do a lot of that in this game too. And it's kind of nice to go through, cut everything, and then you just do like that, and bang, bang, bang down that line, and send everything flying in. It's kind of, I don't know, soothing in my mind to watch it go in. Okay. So, next time,
Object processed. Credits
we're
awarded.
gonna cut these out and disconnect these engines. Let's see if I can do these two before time runs out. See, that was a good day. $4 million. I mean, it's nothing to my debt, but hey. I just pretend debt is not real. And no problems.
Good morning, Cutter 9346-52.
I also find these
Lincoln would
messages
like to
amusing.
share the following inspirational message. The greatest reward in life is the chance to work hard at work worth doing.
There are always these, like, silly little messages that are clearly sort of over-the-top corporate speak. Oh, I forgot I got my coils so I can upgrade my ship.
Hey there, I'm here to help you get this ship healthy again. Successful transplant. Nice job.
Alright, so now I need wires,
If I had a heart, I'd be proud.
and then I could, you know... I don't know what happens if you get your ship built. Maybe you escape. Maybe you don't. Let's see. Do we need to... Yeah, we're still okay. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, one of the last ships I did, I accidentally...
Welcome to Vintatron 9000. Thank you for your purchase. Thank you for your purchase.
I caused the reactor to explode, to melt down in the... while it was still in the back of the ship, so it blew up the whole back half of the ship. And let's just say that that was suboptimal. Every now and then they get hung up on the edge here, which is really, really annoying. But as soon as it, like,
Valuable object. Credits awarded.
touches the, sort of breaks the plane, to use a sports term, it starts to go in. And so then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Let's get rid of this first. Alright. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is miss and hit these fuel tanks,
Processing valuable.
because, as you can imagine,
Credits transferred.
hitting them will go boom. And turns out that's not good for your health if you're inside of this thing when it explodes. I know, shocking, but true.
Salvage accepted. Credit applied.
Although I've discovered there's an interesting bug where every now and then, if you are just cutting near it, it's like it somehow hits it. It's like, I don't know, maybe the bounding box or something is off, but it will cause an explosion, and that's really, really annoying. I blew myself up once that way, even though I was really careful not to actually cut on top of something explosive. So, I don't know. Alright, so you will now see what I just did. Actually, here, let me cut all these too. To show you the whole prep that I was talking about. Is that I will be able to now, assuming I don't do that, just pull like all of these out.
Processing object. Applying credits to account.
See what I mean? Isn't it kind of cool to just watch it all? Ah, well, that was dumb.
Deposit accepted for processing.
Let's give it a little bit of help. There we go. So now you can see I just got a ton of salvage all at once, but also, did I disconnect this? Yeah. But I also cleared out this whole side, which gives me a lot more working room. And I will soon have these out,
Valuable object processed. Credits
because now I can move them without them smashing into things. Curiously, that kinetic
salvage deposit
kick
confirmed.
basically
Applying credits.
doesn't, or at least it hasn't yet, caused them to explode. Alright, so now what we're gonna do, I'll show you. Hopefully I didn't mess up. Cut the line that connects the power. Every now and then I do that.
Salvage deposit secured. Credits awarded.
Looks like it still has power. What you do is this and this, and let's go down here and I'll show you what that just did. What that did is, oops, gotta pay attention to what I'm under. There we go. It disconnected the engines. Or technically the thrusters.
Salvage secured. Credits deposited.
Great. I got my... So I will
Salvage deposit registered.
soon have this
Account
whole
credited.
back end completely taken care of in relatively quick order,
Salvage deposit accepted.
and
Credits
it's kind of cool to watch it disappear. So if you're ever feeling like, I don't know, you're on a treadmill and nothing seems to be getting better or whatever, give this game a whirl, because you can just take your aggression out on cutting things up. And if you want and go into free play, you can just cut things up and you don't have to worry about the value, and you can just play to your heart's content. And taking things apart anyway is entertaining to you. Some people I know probably don't find that to be very entertaining.
Credit applied.
But I guess if that's you, oops. See how that has red on that? What that means is it shouldn't be down there, because that's the one I cut through accidentally, so it should have been scrapped, but oh well. It's so low value, I don't actually care. Okay, so now I can cut through this without it exploding, which is quite handy, I gotta be honest. As a general rule, I don't like things exploding on me. You can quote me on that.
Object processed. Transferring credit.
Okay. Why do I feel like... Oh, okay. There we go. That's what's going on. Okay, so these are like huge and have tons and tons and tons of mass. So what I like to do for those is first try to lift them up, so I connect them up here. And so you will see it lifts it up quite nicely and rather cleanly. And let's do that here.
That's 5
Oh wait,
minutes left on the clock.
so now we can get this,
5 minutes remaining.
because that is now free. So let's do that first. Let's send that over there. Alright, so that gets rid of that. And so now we can send
Valuable
this
object accepted for processing.
up here. And send this up here. There we go. Let's see how that lifts nicely. And you know, it's 6,500 kilos, so it's quite a bit. But now you can see that we have the core of the ship, but the almost the entire shell is gone. Okay, so this needs to go to the furnace, while the rest of this stuff goes to the processor. So this is where we use this, and what we will do is eventually try to cut it off, but I don't like to do it when it's hooked up to things like this, because it will cut through, but we will eventually do that. So what we want to do is take it up so that we can then cut it away from here. And then what we're gonna do is take that here to kind of swing it around. There we go. Oh, well, I connected that wrong like a dummy. Alright. It will generally stay, but let's rehook those up. Okay, so now what I want to do, just to get rid of it, is get rid of this so I have a full
Object accepted for processing.
okay, so
Credit deposited.
that is the reactor. But what I want to do first... Actually, let's do that first. And then what we want to do is go in...
Salvage deposited.
and
Applying credit to account.
disconnect this. So in here, I got a minute, that's plenty of time. Because once I disconnect this last one, the reactor will start to melt down. So now I have, it's about a minute, minute and a half, but it's
Reactor meltdown detected.
plenty of
Urgent
time.
action required. Valuable objects processed.
Because if you...
Reported.
Whoops. Well, that was suboptimal. Alright, so now what I want to do is cut this.
You got 60 ticks till this turkey's done, Cutter. Gobble, gobble.
And then what I want to do is now cut that,
Destroyed. Don't do that.
cut that. Okay. So now just take it out and send it down there. And once it hits there, it will stop melting down. Boom. And there you go. I got my salvage goal.
Applying credit. Salvage goal achieved. Reward.
Here,
allocated.
let's hook that up there for now. I don't want it to disappear on me. But see how all that prep work paid off? Because I cut everything in advance, so then it was able to just bang out. Because you could see the reactor's worth $4 million by itself.
New certification level has been achieved.
I am now the
License
prestigious
level
rank of
increased.
professional. Well, if you look at my Twitter account, you may or may not think that, but I like to think I'm a professional. So I think that that will be it for today. I just wanted to...
Please
Oh, here we
enjoy
go.
This
This is a good
inspirational
one.
message. The last 10% of a job takes as much energy as the first 90%, which is why it's so important to always give 110%.
I just love, like, that's so campy and so stupid, but it, I don't know, it amuses me because I'm sure everyone listening to this who has ever worked a job ever has known at least one person who talked like that, and it just makes me laugh. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully your week gets better. Even if you had a good week, hopefully it gets better. It can always be better. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and hopefully it leaves you feeling better than when you started. Because if not, well, we're all just wasting our time here. So thanks again, and have a great week.